Now, there is, so just now I mentioned to enter the Noble Eightfold Path, we start with right view. How do you attain right view? In the Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta 43, it is said there are only two conditions to attain right view. First, the voice of another. And the second, focus attention. Focus attention we heard before. The first one is the voice of another. So it's very important that you must hear the Dhamma from another person. Only then you can get right view and become an Arya. If nobody teaches you the Dhamma, you will never become an Arya. That's why we find like in India. India is a very religious country. The people there, they are very devoted. So you have many yogis, you have many ascetics, all trying to find a way out of samsara. And they practice extremely hard. They are even willing to give up their life. So you find some, they do all kinds of ascetic practices because they think that is the way to enlightenment. Some might hold up their hand 1 year, 2 years, 10 years. After 10 years, it becomes stiff. Want to bring it down, also cannot bring down. So you can pity these people. They put in so much effort, they suffer so much, and yet they get nothing, because no Arya was around to teach them. Only when the Buddha came and taught the Dhamma, and people listened to the Dhamma and attained stream entry without any effort. See, just listen only. So you are very unfortunate if you meet a wrong teacher. You put in so much effort, in the end you get nothing. But if you meet the right teacher, show you the easy way, and you become an Arya overnight. So the voice of another is very important. Only the voice of another teaching you the Dhamma, you can attain stream entry. This is confirmed by another sutta, Sangyutta Nikaya 46.38. The Buddha said, monks, when a noble disciple listens to the Dhamma with eager ears, attending to it as a matter of vital concern, directing his whole mind to it, on that occasion, the 5 hindrances are not present in him. On that occasion, the 7 factors of enlightenment go to fulfillment by development. So you see, if you can listen to the Dhamma with a focused mind, then the 5 hindrances are not there. And on that occasion, the Buddha says, the 7 bojjhangas, factors of enlightenment, are fulfilled. So that is the time you can attain stream entry. There's another sutta, Anguttara Nikaya 10.75. It is said there, the person who is immoral, but who has listened to the Dhamma, he becomes learned, penetrated Dhamma by view, that means attain right view, attains partial liberation. The ear for Dhamma, Dhammasota, pulls him out, that means pulls him out from samsara. So the ear for Dhamma has saved him. Listening to the Dhamma has saved him from samsara. So stream entry, entering the Noble Eightfold Path, is dependent on right view, which is dependent on the voice of another teaching you the Dhamma. So listening to the true Dhamma, the 5 Nikayas, is very, very important. That is why the Buddha called all his disciples, monks, nuns, laymen, laywomen. What did he call them? Savaka. Listeners. Yeah? So the Buddha wants you to know that listening is so important. That's why he called his disciples Savaka. If you don't listen to the Buddha's words, today you say you're a Buddhist. Few days later you change your religion. It's only by listening to the Dhamma and understanding that you have confirmed confidence in the Buddha. You'll never be shaken. So to give you some examples, I quote 3 simple examples. One is from the Vinaya book, Mahavagga, chapter 1. The Buddha, before enlightenment, he was walking here and there, searching for the path to enlightenment. Then he came to Rajagaha, and King Bimbisara met him, and King Bimbisara was very impressed by the Buddha. and asked the Buddha to stay in his country forever. But the Buddha didn't want that. Now the Buddha wanted to search for enlightenment, wanted to be free to roam here and there. Then he made the Buddha promise him that if the Buddha becomes enlightenment, must come back and teach them. So after the Buddha was enlightened, he started to gather disciples. After he had gathered 60 Arahant disciples, taught them the Dhamma, all listened and attained Arahanthood, because they had 4 jhanas. So after the Buddha had 60 Arahant disciples, he asked them to walk. Don't 2 of you go by the same road, he said. All go in different directions and teach the Dhamma for the good of the many folk. So off they went. Then after that, the Buddha surveyed, who else should he teach? Then the Buddha found a group of 1,000 jatilas, matted hair ascetics, living by the riverside. These matted hair ascetics, they prayed to fire. And they worshipped the fire. But they had attained jhana. And because they had attained jhana, the leader had psychic powers and considered himself an Arahant. And his disciples considered him an Arahant. So the Buddha went to them. Such people, they think they have some attainment, and because they don't have the Dhamma foundation, the ego becomes bigger. So not easy to teach such people. So the Buddha went to them and started to show psychic powers over a few weeks. And after a few weeks, they were totally impressed by the Buddha. Then the Buddha told the leader, Kassapa, you are not an Arahant, and you are not practicing the way to become an Arahant. And there was like a slap in his face. And after some thinking, he decided to become a disciple of the Buddha. He shaved off all his long hair. And then when his disciples saw that, they all shaved off. So 1,000 of them became the Buddha's disciples. Then the Buddha taught them one Dhamma, one discourse called the Fire Discourse, Adita Pariyaya Sutta. Because they prayed to fire. When the Buddha talked about fire, they all listened. So just one sutta, 1,000 of them became Arahants. So easy, no need to all that ascetic practice. Just listening to one sutta, they became Arahants. But they had the 4 jhanas as condition. So after that, the Buddha brought them to Rajagaha, to King Bimbisara. And then the King Bimbisara threw a big lunch for all of these Arahants and invited all the people of Rajaha to come and see Arahants. So according to the Vinaya books, 12 Nahuta of people came. And one Nahuta is said to be 10,000. So 120,000 people came to see the Arahants. So after lunch, after eating, the Buddha spoke Dhamma to 120,000 people. And it is said that all of them attained stream entry. All of them attained stream entry. They are not professors or doctors or scientists, They are akong, ama, ai, aso. Ordinary people. So there is one glaring example. Another one is Samyutta Nikaya 55.24, Sarakani Sutta. There was a man, Sarakani, a Sakyan, in Kapilavatu, who passed away. And then after he passed away, people asked the Buddha, where did Sarakani go for rebirth? Then the Buddha said, he's gone to a good place because he was a Sotapanna. So when a lot of people spread the news, some people were very unhappy. They said, this Sarakani, he used to drink liquor. He cannot even keep the 5 precepts. How can be a Sotapanna? If he can be a Sotapanna, anybody can be a Sotapanna. So when the monks came back to tell the Buddha said, when a lay follower has gone for refuge over a long time to the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, that means he has listened to the Buddha's discourses for a long time, how could he go to the woeful world for rebirth? And then the Buddha went on to say the characteristics of the different types of Arya. The Buddha said that the Arahant and the Anagamin, because they have the 4th jhana, they have joyous wisdom, they have sharp wisdom, Javana Panya and Hasa Panya. So when a person attains the 4th jhana, he has very sharp wisdom. And then the Buddha talks about the Sakadagamin, and then talks about the Sotapanna, and says that the Sotapanna has confirmed confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. But the two path attainers, Dhammanusarin and Sadhanusarin, do not possess confirmed confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. So, after that, the Buddha said a very surprising thing. The Buddha said, why should not Sarakani become a Sotapanna? The Buddha said, even if these great Sala trees could understand what is well spoken and what is badly spoken, then I would declare these great Sala trees to be stream winners, Sotapanna, no longer bound to the woeful world, fixed in destiny, with enlightenment as their destination. How much more then Sarakani the Sakyan? So the Buddha says here, if I talk to these Dhamma, to these trees, and they can understand me, I say they also will become Sotapanna, the Buddha is saying. So why should not Sarakani become a Sotapanna? So from here, it's very clear, the Buddha is saying that by listening to him and understanding his words, you can become a Sotapanna. Even trees can become a Sotapanna. Why you cannot become Sotapanna? Now, the interesting thing is, why is it that this Sarakani, he could not keep the liquor precept and can become Arya? Because he has the Aryan precepts. Now, what are the Aryan precepts? Can anyone tell me? You listen to my Dhamma talks and you can tell. In the Noble Eightfold Path, the 8 factors of the Noble Eightfold Path can be divided into Sila, Samadhi and Panya. And under Sila, there are 3 factors, right speech, right action, and right livelihood. And when you investigate these 3 factors, you find they consist of 7 precepts. 3 body precepts: not to kill, not to steal, not to commit adultery. And then 4 verbal precepts: not to lie, not to carry tales to cause disharmony, not to use vulgar or coarse speech, and not to engage in gossip. So, only 7 precepts. Is a liquor precept there? It's not there. So, liquor precept was put in later. So, originally, the Buddha did not put it in because if you drink liquor, you don't harm anybody, you only harm yourself. So, liquor is not in the Aryan precepts, only the 7 precepts I just mentioned. 3 body precepts and 4 verbal precepts. Okay. Now, the third example I'm going to give is from the Vinaya books, Chula Vaga, chapter 7. Devadatta was a disciple of the Buddha, was very ambitious. Initially, he had all the 8 jhanas, the 4 rupa and the 4 arupa. And because of that, he had psychic powers. And because he had psychic powers, he became arrogant. That shows he didn't listen to the Dhamma enough. He did not attain stream entry. Because there are some people mentioned in one of the suttas, the Buddha said, when he's teaching the Dhamma to his disciples, he was rebuking one monk. He said, I noticed you were never listening when I was teaching the Dhamma. So probably Devadatta was somebody like that, because he was so arrogant, he thinks he knows everything. When the Buddha was teaching the suttas, he was thinking of something else. So because of that, he could not attain stream entry. Then he wanted to take over the Buddha's place. In front of all the monks, he told the Buddha, I said, you're old already, Bhagawa, you step down, let me be the leader. And then the Buddha scolded him in front of the monks. The Buddha said, who do you think you are? You want to take my place. I never even called Sariputta or Moggallana to take my place, and you want to take my place. The Buddha said, you are like spittle. People spit out. Nobody wants. So because of those strong words, he developed a lot of hatred for the Buddha. Then he tried to kill the Buddha. And he tried a few ways. And one of the ways he tried, because the Prince Ajatasattu had a lot of faith in the Buddha, and he asked Prince Ajatasattu to give him a few men. So the prince gave him a few men, and he told the first man, he said, you go to such and such a place in the forest, Samana Gotama is there. You kill him and come back by this road. Then after this man had gone, he called another 2 men. He said, this man is coming back by this road. You kill him and go back by this road. Then he asked 4 men to kill the 2, asked 8 men to kill the 4, and 16 to kill the 8. So he thought, in the end, nobody can find out who killed. So the first man went. Then he went to the Buddha. He was surprised to see the Buddha waiting for him. Either the Buddha knew himself, or sometimes devas will come and warn the Buddha. So he started to tremble, and then the Buddha asked him, come here. Then he threw away his weapons and knelt before the Buddha. And the Buddha asked him to sit down. I will teach you the Dhamma, the Buddha said. So the Buddha taught him the Dhamma, and he attained stream entry. Then the Buddha said, you don't go back by this road. 2 men are waiting to kill you. You go back by some other road. Then 2 men waited. After some time, they got impatient. They started walking. And they came to the Buddha also. They saw the Buddha waiting for them. They also got frightened. Then the Buddha asked them to sit down, spoke the Dhamma to them. They attained stream entry. 4 came, attained stream entry. 8 came, attained stream entry. 16 came, attained stream entry. So you see, these people, you don't expect them to meditate, isn't it? And yet they all attain stream entry. So it's very clear from here that listening to the Dhamma is the way to attain stream entry, because they have seen the Dhamma. And then when a person listens to the Dhamma and has seen the Dhamma, there's a stock phrase that the Buddha describes. For example, in Majjhima Nikaya 74, then in the wanderer, Diganaka, the spotless, immaculate vision of the Dhamma arose. All that is subject to arising is subject to cessation. The wanderer saw the Dhamma, attained the Dhamma, understood the Dhamma, fathomed the Dhamma. He crossed beyond doubt, did away with perplexity, gained intrepidity, and became independent of others in the teacher's dispensation, or the teacher's sasana, meaning the Buddha's teaching, or the Buddha's doctrine, or the Buddha's religion. So you see, when a person understands the Dhamma, he has attained vision of the Dhamma, Dhammacakku. And he understands all that is subject to arising is subject to cessation. In other words, he has seen very clearly anicca. We all think we understand anicca. Not so simple, If you understand anicca, it means you understand dukkha. And it also means you understand anatta. Normally, because our mind is not focused, when we hear something, we don't concentrate on it. We don't understand so clearly. But suppose now a doctor tells you, you have 6 months more to live. You have a tumor in your lung or something. At that time, you will see anicca, yeah? Because you see anicca, you see dukkha, yeah? So, that is a stock phrase on the attainment or vision of the Dhamma. Now, in the Samyutta Nikaya 55.1, it is said that the 4 characteristics of a Sotapanna are confirm confidence in the Buddha, confirm confidence in the Dhamma, confirm confidence in the Sangha, and possess the Aryan precepts, which I mentioned just now is the 7 precepts. And then another characteristic mentioned in Samyutta Nikaya 55.30, an Aryan disciple is endowed with 5 factors. First one is Ayu, second is Vano, then Sukang, then Yasa, then Adipati. First one, Ayu, is long life. You see, sometimes it's Sultan's birthday. What do they write? Dirga Ayu, yeah? Dirga is a Sanskrit for Diga, just like our Diga Nikaya. Durga Ayu is long life. So Ayu means long life. So the first one, if you are an Arya, you will get long life. Either in the human realm or in the heavenly realm, you will get long life. Then second one, Vano is beauty. You'll be beautiful. You'll be reborn, beautiful. The third one, you will have Sukhang, happiness. You'll be very happy, happy person. And then the fourth one is Yasa. Yasa is fame. You'll be famous. Then the fifth one is Adipati. Adipati is lordship or rulership. So if you are born in the Deva realm, you might be a Deva Raja. If you are born in the human realm and you work in a company, you come up to be a CEO. So that is, wow, my talk is getting quite long. Now in the Anguttara Nikaya 3.86, it is said that the Sotapanna has destroyed the three factors, Sakaya Ditti, doubt, and attachment to precepts and practices, Silabhata Paramasa. But the path attainer has not destroyed these three factors. That's why you see after you listen to the Dhamma and you understand, you have entered the stream, but you have not changed your character. It takes some time to change your character. So you keep practicing the Dhamma, and you change your character, and then the three factors are eliminated. It is also mentioned in this sutta, very interesting, that an Arya, whether he's a Sotapanna or Sakadagamin or Anagamin or Arahant, he can fall into offenses in regard to the lesser and minor training rules, but he rehabilitates himself. That means he confesses. So an Arya can break the minor precepts. So if you don't understand this, you might be very critical of a monk or a nun. But that person might be an Arya. Don't think an Arya cannot break the minor precepts. But it says here, he will quickly rehabilitate himself. That means he will confess. He will never hide. Not like some people do things and hide. He's very open. Arya is very straightforward and very open. Okay. Now I come to a very important sutta, which is the Majjhima Nikaya 48, which has the most detailed description of the Sotapanna, the characteristics of a Sotapanna. In this sutta, the Buddha said the Sotapanna has 7 characteristics. The first one, the Buddha says, this monk considers, is there any obsession unabandoned in myself that might so obsess my mind that I cannot know and see things as they really are? If a monk is obsessed by sensual lust, if he is obsessed by ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and remorse, doubt, speculation about the world, then his mind is obsessed. But this Sotapanna, he understands, there is no obsession unabandoned in myself that might so obsess my mind that I cannot know and see things as they really are. My mind is well disposed for awakening to the truths. So, the first quality of a Sotapanna, the 5 hindrances does not obsess his mind. So, for a person who is intelligent, you are not habitually obsessed by these 5 things. You can say you don't have the 5 hindrances. You don't have to attain jhana. You probably did it in a previous life. Otherwise you won't be born intelligent. Now the second one, do I obtain internal serenity? Then he understands, he personally obtains stillness or serenity of mind. So if you can calm your mind, that is a characteristic of the Sotapanna. There are some people who are so scatterbrained, they cannot calm their mind even for a short while. The third characteristic, a Sotapanna understands there is no other ascetic outside the Buddha's teaching possess of right view, such as I possess. So he knows that the Buddha's teaching basically is the Four Noble Truths or the Noble Eightfold Path. So if there is some other ascetic follower of some other religion, if they don't have the Noble Eightfold Path, then they cannot possess this right view. That's the third characteristic. The fourth one, this is the character of a person who possesses right view. Although he may commit some kind of offense for which a means of rehabilitation has been laid down, still he at once confesses, reveals and discloses it to the teacher or to wise companions in the holy life. So this is what was mentioned earlier, that an Sotapanna can commit some minor offense, but he will immediately confess, he won't hide it. The fifth characteristic, this is the character of a person who possesses right view. Although he may be active in various matters for his companions in the holy life, yet he has a keen regard for training in the higher virtue, training in the higher mind, and training in the higher wisdom. So here he says, if a monk is very busy also, he will try to practice the Noble Eightfold Path. So even for lay persons also, if you have understood the Dhamma, you might be very busy as a CEO or something, and yet when you have free time, you will try to practice the Noble Eightfold Path. The sixth characteristic a noble disciple considers, do I possess the strength of a person who possesses right view? What is the strength of a person who possesses right view? This is the strength of a person who possesses right view. When the Dhamma Vinaya proclaimed by the Buddha is being taught, he heeds it, gives it attention, engages it with all his mind, hears the Dhamma with eager ears. So you see here, this is a characteristic of the Sotapanna. If he has a chance to listen to the Dhamma, he will very eagerly listen to it and put in all the attention. He wants to listen to Dhamma. And then another characteristic of a Sotapanna, what is the strength of a person who possesses right view? This is the strength of a person who possesses right view. When the Dhamma Vinaya proclaimed by the Buddha is being taught, he gains inspiration in the meaning, gains inspiration in the Dhamma, gains gladness connected with the Dhamma. When a noble disciple is thus possessed of these 7 factors, he possesses the fruit of stream entry. So this last two is very important. The sixth one, when he has a chance to listen to Dhamma, he pays attention, engages it with all his mind, hears the Dhamma with eager ears. And then the seventh one, when he has a chance to listen to the Dhamma, he gains inspiration in the meaning, gains inspiration in the Dhamma, gains gladness connected with the Dhamma. In other words, a characteristic of the Sotapanna is he likes to listen to the suttas. If you don't have interest to listen to the suttas, no chance to become a Sotapanna. This said by the Buddha, not me. 3 types of Sotapanna. Anguttara Nikaya 3.87. There are 3 types of Sotapanna. One is called the Satta Kattu Parama, one with 7 births at most. And that is among devas and humans. 7 more lifetimes maximum. The second one is called the Kolan Kola, the family-to-family attainer among good families 2 or 3 times. That means he's born in the human realm 2 or 3 times among good families. And then the Ekabiji, the one seed attainer, he's reborn in the human existence only once. Why is one Sotapanna is born once only, another one is born 2 or 3 times, another one is born 7 times? Because the one who is born only one more time, he puts in a lot of effort. Like the Buddha. The Buddha, if you study the suttas and the Vinaya, he was already an Arya, and either a Sotapanna or a Sakadagamin. So when he came back as Siddhartha Gautama, He couldn't understand why also he must go and become renounced and become a monk. But something inside will bring him something, because once you have become a Sotapanna or a Sakadagamin, when you are reborn, you've forgotten about it, But in your subconscious, you don't forget. So your subconscious will lead you the way. This in Hinduism is called the Adi Guru, your primary teacher. Your primary teacher is inside here. So, to summarize, to become a Sotapanna, first you must be spiritually matured enough to search for the truth. And then you come across a teacher, and then you examine whether he has greed, hatred and delusion. If not, you have faith and respect for him. Then you are able to listen to the Dhamma. And some people, when they listen, initially they already attain stream entry. And it is said here, after they listen, they gain a reflective acceptance of the teaching. Gaining reflective acceptance means he understood. So he attain stream entry. Then he practices in accordance with the Dhamma. He recollects the Dhamma. In our case, we are very lucky. We don't have to recollect, in the sense that during the Buddha's time, they had no books, They had to memorize. Nowadays, we have the books. In fact, we are more lucky than people born during the Buddha's time. You know why? Because you are born during the Buddha's time, the Buddha will come to your kampong maybe for 1 week or 2 weeks, then he will go off to some other kampong. So you can only listen to a few suttas. But now, we have 5,000 of the Buddha suttas that he taught for 45 years, all in the Nikayas. And if you don't take the opportunity to listen to it, very sorry for you, because the Buddha said, when he looked into the past 91 world cycles, one night the Buddha didn't sleep. Spent the whole night looking into the past, managed to see 91 world cycles. He saw only 6 Sammasambuddha. Not so easy to find a Sammasambuddha, They don't come so easily. So 91 world cycles, 6 Sammasambuddhas. How long to get to hear one Sammasambuddha? So if you miss this opportunity, you have to wait for many, 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 many lifetimes. And during that many lifetimes, I don't know how many times you fall into hell. So don't play, as they say. So I think better stop here to give you all a chance to ask questions. One last thing I want to say is Samyutta Nikaya 56.51. One day the Buddha was talking to his disciples and he took a bit of soil on his finger. Then he asked the disciples, he said, look at this soil on my fingertip. Is it a lot compared to all the soil in the earth? And this disciple said, on your fingertip is so little, how can you compare with the soil on the whole earth? So the Buddha said, similarly, once a person has attained Sotapanna, the dukkha, the suffering that you have left is so little compared to a person who has not attained Sotapanna. So in other words, if you don't attain Sotapanna, you'll be suffering for a very, very long time. But once you attain Sotapanna, you can take a slow boat out of samsara. Questions?